the global community calls on us to reflect on this issue of refugee, and not just as an issue, but thinking of the human persons with equal dignity, with equal rights, who have been subjected by situation beyond their control. Today is the global theme is community as a superpower. Community, and all of us are members of a community. All of us form community. All of us can contribute to create community. And for us, we always like to bring this global theme home to what we can relate with and connect with in a very contextual level. And so we have carved out of this broad theme, a theme for our reflection today: from strangers to neighbors, fostering inclusive communities for refugee well-being. So out of this community as a superpower, we're reflecting on how do we, narrow this down to what we can touch and hold and relate with and even act on. And that is why we have come up with this theme, and inviting all of you, our collaborators, our friends, our partners, stakeholders, to join us in this reflection. As Ms. Erica said during the prayer, that it will not just end in reflection, but that it will move each one of us and our organizations to actions that will bring us to solidarity with persons who have to live in this situation of refugees, people, to also bring us to empathy, understanding, and support for persons who, in one way or the other, face this situation. In some cases, they may not be refugees far away from their homeland. Some people are within their homeland, but they are still refugees because of the situations they live in. We have two very erudite, very experienced experts speakers for today's webinar. I wish this webinar was better attended because we have actually brought in very, very distinguished speakers to lead this reflection today. And they are here on the call, and they will be duly introduced soon after I finish. But let me just welcome in a very special way Ambassador Sylvester Carlon and Mr. Emmanuel Seveden, who are leading this reflection this morning and this day. Thank you very much, sirs, for accepting to share your wealth of experiences and expertise in this field with us. And we are actually happy that you are leading this conversation, because you, especially Ambassador, you are one of our very faithful participants in our various webinars. We are happy to have the opportunity and the privilege to listen to you today. We are hoping that this conversation will move us into further action. I want to welcome very especially every one of you in your distinguished positions as you have joined this call today. Thank you very much for your time. It is a very precious time of the day, working hour, and you have, created this time as your concern, a show of your concern for this issue that we are reflecting on. So I am giving it back to you, Mr. Moderator. Apologies for my network instability this morning. I hope it will stable and we will enjoy this webinar. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Sister Olivia, for your welcome address, and then also for giving us an opening remark to our discussion today. We are so grateful. So before we proceed to the main agenda that has brought all of us together here, I would like to still reiterate that my name is Akwasi Prempe, the one moderating this program for you today. And then today we are discussing From Strangers to Neighbors, Fostering Inclusive Communities for Refugee Wellbeing. This webinar is to mark World Refugees Day. So please, if you are on board, we want this session today to be more, a bit of more interactive. And then we would like people to also share experiences and also ideas. This session specifically is going to be a learning session where we all learn from each other. So please do not feel intimidated or shy to also bring your thoughts and ideas or experiences on board, because this is what we need. Thank you so much. But before we begin with this, the main discussions, I would like to introduce our panelists to you. Sister Olivia mentioned their name and did a bit of some introduction about them, but I want to officially introduce our panelists for today as discussions to you. With me, we have on the meeting, we have Ambassador Sylvester Sidi Mohammed Kalum, and then he is the national team leader and CEO of Future Focus Foundation in Eastern Sierra Leone, a certified international peace ambassador and dedicated human rights advocate. He actively promotes social justice and champions the defense of fundamental rights. Ambassador Kalum has experts insights as a consultant in urban mobility and migration, humanitarian diplomacy, gender and inclusion, as well as safeguarding and protection. He is also an associate university lecturer in peace, security, and development at the Eastern Technical University in Kenema, Sierra Leone. So you're welcome, Ambassador Sylvester. I hope I've really presented you well.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you, Ambassador. All right, so the next person to also introduce is very own, Mr. Emmanuel Seviden. Emmanuel is a passionate civil society advocate and refugee rights activist, serving as a prominent leader within the Cameroonian refugee community in Northeast Nigeria. With a steadfast commitment to refugee empowerment and community development, he plays a vital role in advancing the rights and well-being of displaced persons through grassroots leadership and advocacy. Mr. Emmanuel, please, you are also welcome on board.
Thank you so much, sir. And I do welcome everyone to this webinar, as we are hoping to have a great day on this platform. You are all welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So if I have duly, introduced our panelists to you, I think we can now proceed with the discussions. So let me ask, as we are talking about, the theme that is From Strangers to Neighbors, fostering inclusive communities for refugee well-being. Mr. Sylvester, I would like to ask you, what are some of the effective ways that we can foster connections between refugees and host communities?
Yes, good morning once more. Kindly permit me to just, every World Refugee Day, we prepare a small statement for our audience and our brothers, and this will serve as an opportunity for me to just share. It's a very brief one before we start. Please kindly permit me for that.
All right.
On this World Refugee Day, we recognize the resilience, dignity, and contribution of millions of refugees worldwide who have been forced to flee their homes due to conflict, persecution, and disaster. This year's theme, Solidarity, calls for shared humanity. It also calls us to move beyond fear and division and embrace solidarity. From the Bible remind us that do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing, some have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. This is from Hebrews 13, verse 2. From the flight of the Holy Family to Egypt, to the early church welcoming displaced, Scripture compels us to see refugees not as outsiders, but as brothers and sisters in need of safety and belonging. And too often, refugees face suspicion and exclusion. Yet, in communities where they are welcome, they become teachers, doctors, artists, entrepreneurs, enriching societies with their courage and talent. When we move from seeing them as strangers to embracing them as neighbors, we will be stronger, more compassionate communities. Together, we can transform fear into fellowship, isolation into inclusion, and strangers into neighbors. Let us stand with refugees, not just today, but every day, until all find a place to call a home. For I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Matthew 25, verse 35. Thank you all. Happy World Refugee Day from Ambassador Sylvester Sidi Mohammed Kalon, National Team Lead Future Focus Foundation. Thank you for listening to that short statement from Future Focus Foundation. I now go to your question. You were asking on how we will foster meaningful connections of inclusiveness for refugees. There are very many ways, Mr. Duamena, and my audience from the Safe Child Advocacy. One of these will have to be to build bridges through social interaction. We need to build bridges through social interaction. How do we do that? We have to do what we call community welcome programs, where you have local organizations organizing events where refugees and long-term residents meet, they share stories and build friendship. We can also do that by language exchange initiative, where we pair refugees with local volunteers for language practice, help break communication barriers, and foster mutual understanding. There are very many ways that we can do it. As we proceed, we will really see how we can do that. We also share cultural celebrations. Hosting multicultural festivals allow communities to appreciate diversity and find common ground. Don't forget that refugees also have talents, they have potentials, they have skills. And so if we are actually bringing them on board, we can tap from those particular skills, and that we allow the community to find a common ground to ensure we embrace our colleague refugees, who are our brothers, though not from the same mother.
All right. Thank you so much, Ambassador. If I heard you right, the first thing we need to do is to build bridges through social interactions. Building bridges through social interactions. And the next thing that we have to also consider is to, do some language exchange, initiative. have this language exchange initiative. So how do we go about this language exchange initiative? And which possible way do you think this can be very feasible and effective as well?
Yes, in fact, for West Africa, you find out that we have very close commonalities in our languages. Some of the languages that are spoken in Liberia are also, very similar in Sierra Leone. In Ghana, it is the same thing. You have some languages that are very similar, in terms of how the others in the neighboring countries. So for us to build this language, like we are saying, it is good that we encourage them to start to speak our own languages. This is how we bring them from being strangers to being neighbors. Because if we try to encourage them, through our interaction, for them to see how we exchange our languages, you can ask them, what do you call this in your language? Or how do we call this? And then he too will ask you. So that will help to break the communication barrier. And it will also foster what we call mutual understanding. Because through that, you will now be able to communicate better.
All right, that is very key, and thank you once again. But on the part of social interaction, you talked about building bridges. So what bridges are we talking about here?
The bridges here that we need to build has to do with trying to discourage discriminatory practices. Because don't forget that at the very initial point, entry point, they call us host communities. Whosoever accommodates refugees are host communities. And sometimes these host communities can be hostile, not because they want to, but with the perception of fear that, their people are coming to also try to scramble for the meager resources that they have. And so they will not, they see them as an anti, even though they are not there by their making, but they are there because of circumstances. So for us to actually try to build the bridges through social interaction is to see how we embrace them. Let us manage whatever meager resources we have, but let us don't ostracize them. Let us don't discriminate against them. For me, as a human rights expert, I see the very entry point as an discriminatory aspect, because what they do is that when refugees enter the country, they locate them at some specific area where they limit their movement, they confine them to those places. That in itself is very, very discriminatory. So let us try to build those bridges, through those social interaction. They come, we accommodate them. If there are people who are ready to take, they say, okay, yes, I am taking this family to my house. I am taking this family to stay with me. But for us making the encampment as if they are, they have been recruited for war, or they are just, prisoners of war, is also discriminatory. So we need to build bridges of social interaction, bridges of building the families. So that's what I was trying to say, I was trying to talk about.
All right, thank you so much, Ambassador. So I would like to also hear from Mr. Emmanuel. So Mr. Emmanuel, can we also get your point of view? How do you think we can, foster connections between refugees and host communities? What are some practical ways that we can foster connections between refugees and host communities?
Okay, good morning, everyone. You rightly introduced me into the group. I am one of the refugee community leaders, and I want to just flash back on something. As we all know, the global situation of refugees, and then how refugees are being camped. The experience we have here in Northeast Nigeria is that refugees are living in a non-camp settlement. Originally, we have never had a camp. We lived in a non-camp settlement in Northeast Nigeria. This is just one point of what we may look at it as from integration, community integration, which means as a refugee comes in this part of Nigeria, automatically you find yourself within the community. This is just one point. And at one point, what we do is that we had a reception home where when they come, we normally keep them for maybe 1 or 2 months. We just orientate them about the community, how they can operate. So it was just a small room. When you come, we now have to counsel you, how you have to feed yourself into the community, how you have to see yourself as part of the community, because this area where we live shared common boundary with Cameroon. And apart from the language, the French and English, we are from the English part of Cameroon, which means we are already living in Nigeria, which is in Nigeria, where it is part of the community. So one, like you talk about fostering this fostering our relationship with the community. Once you enter, 1 or 2 days, somebody may help you to stay in his house. Once you enter, you may have some small change with you that you can rent a house and you stay. So when all these things as refugees, the point here is that we make sure that we have some gatherings on weekly basis. And these gatherings are like, we come together with different ideas. It is just like a meeting. So we bring in both host community and refugees alike. That is the first point, having a weekly interactive programs. Secondly, being in a non-camp settings, we don't have any particular hospital. The hospital we have under UNHCR is a very hospital the host community use. So when you reach the hospital, you don't find anybody, you don't know who is a refugee. You may only know a refugee when they say, bring out, you are a refugee, and you bring out that you are asked to consult that this is, I'm a refugee. That is one aspect that we have. We equally have an empowerment center whereby we recruit both refugees and host community. And this empowerment center, those engaged there are purely volunteers. And in this camp, in this empowerment center, you realize that most of the people who are volunteering there, they are offering their voluntary service and host community. So with this, now you come in there, unless they tell you that this is a refugee, you won't know. You only see that you people have come to learn work. It is us who have the data that will know this is a refugee and this is this is not a refugee. So that is the second point as far as fostering our integration with the community. So we may look at cultural aspects. Most of the like today is well refugee there. If you go to our celebration ground now, you are going to see we are going to have cultural dances. And most of the cultural dances we have in Cameroon, we have them in this particular community. Whereby when we have an occasion, maybe we're refugee there, International Day of the Women, you'll see that these dances will come out and they will celebrate as one people. We don't celebrate as refugees. We don't celebrate as host community. That is another point. Like my colleague talked about language. Language is not our problem, apart from the fact that in Northeast Nigeria, they mostly speak Fulani and Hausa. In Cameroon, we do speak a little bit of Fulani, not Hausa. So you see that most of 75% of our refugees here, they cannot speak the Fulani and the Hausa. But when it comes to English, we can manage. It's just that the host community, they are a bit illiterate as far as language English is concerned. Most of them, their common language is Hausa. So this is where our people have challenge. So in this our center as well, we do offer classes, which means when we have a gathering, we make sure that we teach them basic Hausa so that they can go to the market and interact with the people. Because at times if you go to the market and then they realize that you cannot speak the Hausa or the Fulani, the prices will be higher for you. They will use that as an opportunity to extort you. That's why we just give them the basic as far as Hausa and Fulani is concerned. Because 75% of our refugees, they can't speak the language. They can't speak Hausa or Fulani. So when you go to the market to interact with them, it's a big problem. So we give them the basic so that you can price, you can do this, so that you should not be extorted in the market.
All right. So then, thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. You are doing a great deal of work over there in Nigeria. So I think I can also take some information from our dear house. I don't know, how can we foster connections between refugees and host communities? What's your take on this? This is to the general house. If you also have any idea to share, please, we are open for that. As I earlier said, this is an interactive session. We are all going to discuss these topics together. So we've listened to the side of the experts. Can we also hear from you? So if you want to make any submission, you can just go to the reaction button and then you alert me. So we would like to also acknowledge the presence of some other experts. I know my mom was going to raise the hand up. Sister Franca, I knew you were going to come on board. Let us acknowledge you and then the other experts also in this meeting. We would also like to hear from you. Okay, Sister Franca, can you take over?
Good afternoon, everyone, and my dear friends at the Safe Child Advocacy Center. I'm greeting all of you from Geneva. And right now, we are engaging very seriously with the Human Rights Council, the 59th session, which started on Monday. So the first week is nearly over. So I just took time out, to be part of this conversation because there's always a lot of good in it. And this topic that you are sharing, it's a very, very good and important one. 3 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to attend some program that was hosted by the World Health Organization. And the topic was on changing the stories of migrants. I'm using the word migrants because migration is also interconnected with refugee. And one of the things that came up very strongly was, to look at for the, let's say, yes, the host community to learn to see refugees not as problems, but as real stakeholders that make great contribution in the development of the communities or wherever they find themselves. And the conversation was a very, very strong one. The group I was engaging with decided to use a kind of focus group discussion. So we were all put into 3 different groups. And our group, we were discussing on the mental health of migrants and what would really have led to that stage of their life and what contribution could we as the grassroots or participants of that meeting offer to health workers so that they could make the space of healthcare also accessible to migrants or to refugees around. And the participants in my group, they were from Ukraine. You know that for over 2 years now, there has been great war in Ukraine. And so there has been a lot of migration. A lot of young people moved. And those young girls that were speaking, they were not just speaking as refugees, they were speaking as experts because they have come from their country already well-trained. And here in Switzerland, so they had a kind of free passage where they could come. And when they came in, they were quite integrated into studies and education so that their time is not wasted. And they proved how they have come with great background, educational background, but sometimes maybe looking for a job, it becomes a problem because they are not from that particular situation. So one of the advice that came out was for, employers to be able to identify that refugees or migrants who move from their own country to another country did not just come empty-handed, that they have come with great gifts to offer: educational background, cultural background, and intellectual background, that they could offer. I know in our situation, it could be, maybe it could be the context could be different, but we can still be able to identify among young refugees who have moved from one space to another space, that they have not just come empty-handed. They are not coming to take our own resources the way we always think, because that is a very stereotyped kind of way of looking at things. When people, naturally for Africans, West Africans, we have been opened, to receiving strangers, visitors in our house, and we are able to show them some different signs of welcome. So what has changed? What is it that make us to look at, refugees as people who have come to threaten our space, who have come to disturb us, who have come to grab the things that we have? So this kind of mentality, we have to work on it. The host community have to work on their mentality, to change this mentality in order to create a space, that other people can come in and feel welcome and feel happy. Thank you for giving me the chance, and I'm sorry that I've taken too much time.
Thank you so much. You've not really taken too much time because this is an interactive session. We want everyone to bring their ideas, experience, and also input on board. So thank you for that wonderful submission. But to Mr. Emmanuel, I think, sister, in your submission, you mentioned that although when they come and you receive them, there's this proper way of, integration, if I may say. But in your submission, to some extent, you mentioned that it's at times it becomes very difficult for them when they want to access jobs. So with this has to do with policy, right? Some policies that are, discriminating against these people. So I want to ask Mr. Emmanuel, since he has been the one working with these persons directly, what are some policy changes, that we can improve, refugee integration, we can adopt or we can make to improve refugee integration and then give them that access to essential services wherever they find themselves. Mr. Ima.
Okay. Now, it's a very good question because we have it as a serious problem right here in the Northeast Nigeria. One of the things is that in Nigeria, the whole show is very complicated. One, you can't have a SIM card without having an NIN number. That's National Identification Number.
Okay.
So if you have this, you can easily register a SIM card that will help you in communication. So you can you can travel, because with the refugee ID cards, some of the immigrations, they don't have the knowledge of refugees. So they just feel that a refugee is just kept in a camp without going out. That's just their own mentality. Some of them have never had an experience of working. So the ID cards, with the ID card too, before you do anything, before our children register for public exams, they need to have that number. So I think one of the best policy is to see how these refugees can be integrated into the national identification system, besides having the UN ID cards. Because with the UN ID card, it's just to identify you, a refugee, and they have a number, an identification number on it. This identification number only serves the UN purpose. It doesn't serve the purpose of travel. It serves to a certain extent, but refugees are being harassed by immigration officers. When you meet an immigration officer, you say, no, you don't have the right to move out of the camp. You are supposed to be confined. But we are living in a non-camping system. We are just open to the society. We can, we don't have like special camp where we have services provided in the camp. Our services are within the town. So integrating refugees in the national system in all countries is very, very important. Because if you want to apply for a job, they will tell you most of the jobs you have to identify yourself with an NIN number. That's national identification number. So that's a policy we have been advocating. Most of our children who are in universities, they hardly have scholarship opportunity, because when they go in now, they will discover that they have gone behind. They have used a fraudulent way to have that NIN. So we have been fighting for it for the past 6 years. We have not been able to succeed. So that's just one of the policies. I think that's the most essential policy that needs a change, whether be it in Nigeria or anywhere. I don't know in other countries, but with our own experience here, we need a policy that refugees can be enrolled or identified in the national system, just like other migrants, just like migrants. Because when migrants, as a migrant, you are paying the Nigerian government, they will give you a card, their own cards. There you will not see nationality is not Nigeria. Now the nationality reflects your own country.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel, for that. I can see that, sister, you have your hand up. Can we also listen to you on this? Some policies we need to change to help improve refugee integration and then their access to essential services wherever they find themselves.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And thank you, Ambassador Sylvester and Mr. Emmanuel, and of course, our very dear big sister, the UN rep, Sister Francesca Edith. Thank you very much for your reflections, which prompts me to want to make my contribution. Mine is actually some frustration and experiences that I have on the grassroots working with persons in these situations. Here in Ghana, we have similar situation as what Mr. Emmanuel is sharing. You call your own name, national identification number. We call our own Ghana card. And without a Ghana card, you also cannot get a SIM to make communication, to have any form of communication. And I think that is the beginning of integration. When you cannot communicate, where you are in a place and you cannot communicate, then it is really, you are really an outcast. You don't belong. You can't operate. You can't function. And this is not just an isolated case in Ghana or in Nigeria. I think it cuts across the West African countries, if not all of the African countries. I know it's also a global thing, because now we want to be able to track illegal activities through the same card or same number or our phone communications. That is one, and it's really frustrating everywhere people go. I have even people around who come around and they are struggling with it. And as Emmanuel said, sometimes they have to use illegal means to acquire this. Sometimes they are exploited because people will tell them they've already registered SIM, give it to them, they pay a huge amount, but after using it for a little while, the SIM is locked. But my major frustration and concern is on job employment. You know, when we talk of integration, where do we even start when people cannot access means of livelihood? There are people who are not, who do not have the formal refugee titles, but they happen to be in a locality that is not their homeland, their home country, and is always in search of better livelihood, better opportunities. But when they come, they cannot get even private jobs. And we are talking about solidarity, we are talking about global community, the world becoming a global village. But in practical reality, the states are not, the governments are not making any practical and realistic efforts to make it happen, even within the African context. One community or a global village, yet you cannot get a private job to operate. We have people around us here who come from the neighboring African country. We in Ghana, we have neighborhood with Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, and all of this. They are around here, they have certificates, they have qualifications, they have experiences, and they also cannot access even private jobs, because if you employ them for some private services that you will even not pay much, you can still be in trouble over time because they will not have proper documentation. So all of these are things that maybe we are sending Sister Francisca, but also we send ourselves to find ways of, making our own input with our local governments to consider these issues, because we should really desist from this attitude of they've come to take what belongs to us. I think the world is a global community, and the resources that nature has endowed us with can be shared. There has always been foreigners working in different places, and some openness to tap from the resources of people who are from different nationalities would help to bridge all of this gap of looking at people like we are not the same blood flowing through us. And it's cut across. It's not just, one country cannot blame the other, because it's something that every country seems to be doing. But we, the ordinary people, in our conversations, in our spaces where we are even speaking in our churches, in our mosque, in our associations, how do we relate with the strangers among us? How do we treat them? They don't have names. They are referred to from where they come. And sometimes it can be quite painful, hurtful for the persons, because you have a name, but your identity is always from where you come. And when you are referred to that way, it's very derogatory. So I am just making this contribution to heighten our sensitivity, even where we have powers. And then when we have opportunity to make contributions towards policy change. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sister Olivia. Ambassador, can I also have your take on this concerning policy changes to improve refugee integration and access to essential services?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. In fact, I see it as one of the steps towards having fostering inclusion of refugees and transforming their status from strangers to neighbors. Policy and institutional support should be very, very, very relevant, very significant. For instance, local government initiatives where we advocate for inclusive policies like access to healthcare, legal rights. You know, I remember my colleague was talking about the national ID card. These are all within the policy and institutional support. And it's really, really, and when you look at what he was saying, it's like it is not really derogatory, but it shows some form of discrimination. And you know, we have trade durable solutions for refugees. The one we are talking about now here is integration. And for integration, policies should be friendly. They should be refugee friendly. In Sierra Leone, our National Civil Registration Authority has two sets of ID cards that they use. We have the one that they call the national identity, and then they have the one that is ECOWAS, which is for any citizen within the 16 the sub-region. They receive it, and so that will help them to even see how they can follow up on their data. They follow up on what they are doing so that they will not have a lot of barriers. And these are the kind of policies we need to put in place in terms of data protection, in terms of identification, you know, so that they too cannot have a barrier for either going to the bank to do transaction, for either looking for job opportunities. Because if we are talking about fostering integration or inclusion, economic integration should be taken into greater account. And that can only come to play when we have strong policies and institutional support. Because for economic integration, job training and employment should be factors where we help refugees find work while educating their children. The local business partnership encourage the refugees to run business, collaborate with existing ones, have a way to also take loan to be able to do businesses. But all of this could come around when there is a very friendly policy. So our role here in actually trying to engage government authorities is to ensure that we advocate for inclusive policies, you know, anti-discrimination measures also to address xenophobia through laws and community policing should also be enhanced.
All right, thank you so much, Ambassador. So you've made the point very clear that social integration is not the only way to inclusive communities for refugees' well-being. We can foster that. So we need to also think of economic integration as well. So social integration and economic integration are very, very key if we say we want to foster inclusive communities for refugees' well-being. Thank you so much. I think we are gradually coming to drawing the curtain for our discussion, but I would like to also open the floor for some questions from the house. If you have any question, please let us know. But in the chat box, I can see a question from Mr. Daniel Osayebua asking that how can we deal with issues of strong cultural and religious practices among refugees and host communities?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I will maybe throw light on that. Let us encourage language and cultural exchange. When we do that, one way we can do that is to be having cultural workshop. We teach the locals about the refugee culture, vice versa, to break the stereotype, so that could be able to build up, the kind of culture, a sort of mutual cultural, what do we call it, cultivation, so that at least we'll be able, for instance, religion is also culture, So if we are going to have cultural workshop where both the locals and refugees, come together, sometimes cannot be a training, but it can be dialogue, share your ideas, I think that could help. And like my colleague was talking about free language classes, we can also offer local language courses while also valuing refugees' native languages, so that they don't see themselves as, being exclusive on that side or be excluded. Sometimes when you bring in your own language, you also ask them, how do you call this in your own language? So that next time you meet, probably you just share information in the little information you have on his language, and then he will feel belonging. So in terms of culture, I think we need to encourage both the language and cultural exchange. That will be able to foster sustainable inclusion and integration of refugees.
Thank you so much. I think Sister Olivia also wanted to say something. Sister, I think, do you want to respond to that question?
No.
All right. Okay, so we have just a few minutes open for questions. If you have any, just show up your hand in the reaction box, and then I'll put you on. Okay, so I can see a hand up. Hashim, can we hear your question, please?
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
we can hear you.
Please, I have a question. My question is, as a refugee camp, maybe it may be a bad person or someone who has a bad character. So how can you deal with someone like that? Because he or she is already a refugee, but the character may spoil others or may not coping with other refugees. So in such a situation, how are you handling such cases? Thank you.
All right. So if I got you right, I think we are all talking about, inclusivity, but not to exclude them. So that is why Ambassador and then Mr. Emmanuel were talking about, we shouldn't keep them in a camp, segregate them, thinking that they are supposed to be here and we are there. So you are also asking. So in a case where we are, talking about inclusivity, if we are to include them or integrate them into the normal society stream, and the person has a bad character, how do we deal with that?
So
Okay.
I can also add to that, Mr. Moderator. How do you deal with anybody with a bad character within the community? How do we do that? They are part of the community, they are part of us. Just the normal way we cope anywhere else in the family. You have people with bad character everywhere. You have them. So the same principles goes. You can't cast anybody away because I know that when people present very negative attitudes, they make everybody else to become stereotyped. Anybody that belongs to that community becomes stereotyped, which is not helpful for that community. But it's the same principles that we deal with people with difficult character. They are brothers and sisters, and that is how we deal with them everywhere. That will be my own reflection around that. And then if we stop the issue of camping them, then they are part of the community. And when if they do something, commit crime, they are treated like every other person in the community.
All right. Thank you so much, sister. Any other question? Okay, Sister Franca, please. Can we hear you?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I want to add to what Sister Olivia has said, you know, like when people come with a negative attitude and we describe it as bad character, sometimes it's coming also from the struggles and the pains that they have gone through. And probably when they come and we come in contact with them, what they are looking for from us is basically sense of compassion and understanding, which is not always easy, because if we continue with the process of labeling them as people with bad character, it increases, you know, their struggle, and we are not helping, we are adding to the suffering that they are already going through. So a little bit of understanding, a little bit of making space, a little bit of trying to listen to them, you know, would then help them to rethink in whatever they are doing that pushes them away from other people. They may begin to look inward and also begin to maybe make some necessary changes. It's not possible to impose change on individuals, but people can make their own changes when they see the positive things that comes from it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sister. Can we also take from, sorry, Sister Catherine? Catherine, please, can we hear you?
Hello, on character attitude, I think that the refugee camp also can serve as a character formation for them, because it's not everybody that are refugees that have good character. So once they have also come out from somewhere, you don't know what is on their mind before coming there.
Yeah,
But once you have rescued them at a place, it will serve as a character formation for them. You can't rule them out completely. They need to be trained and accepted. As sister has already said, love can be shown so that that negative attitude that they have, it can be formed into positive. And well, sometimes it's a situation they find themselves in that make them to be hostile. So we can't rule them out completely. Let's find the roots of correcting people. Doesn't mean that you should know, you should just see the situation and then you penalize. But get to the roots, ask them more questions, get to know about them, so that if it is there, the situation that has made them to have that rude character, they can look at it positively and be changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sister Catherine. Ambassador, I can also see your hand up. Any question for us or a contribution?
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to add to what Sister and Auntie Catherine have just said. You know, one other way we can use to, or we can adapt for fostering inclusion, sustainable inclusion of these people and integration is by providing access to resources and support. One has to do with mental health services, you know, because, you know, trauma-informed counseling and peer support groups can address psychological distress caused by displacement. Sometimes these characters are, you know, emanate or generated from this kind of stress. Remember, somebody fleeing forcibly, it's not his own or her own volition, fleeing forcibly, leaving behind everything, you know, sometimes, you know, can create those kind of distress. It can create some mental health problem. So one of the things that we do is that let us ensure that we advocate that there should be provision of access to resources such as mental health services, so that people we see that have we identify as having bad character probably can go through those trauma-informed counseling, and then they will be able to transform. That's what I want to add. It might not be their normal character, but situation can sometimes force you to that kind of thing. Or even within the host communities, the way you are treated, can create those kind of problems. So let us also think about that. That's just what I want to add. Thank you very much, Amina.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sylvester. There is a question here for all of us, and it's coming from one of our partners or collaborators, the Demarilac Center for Street Children. And then the person here is asking that how do we identify genuine migrants from spies who are intended to I think it has skipped a bit.
To take over your territory.
Our territory. How can we, differentiate or identify genuine migrants from spies who are intended to take over our territory? Although we are all talking about, inclusivity of refugees, we are talking about their integration. How would you know that this person has this intention of taking over your territory? All right, I can see SCA hand is up. Hello, can we hear you?
Please speak, get close to the mic.
Okay, my question is, how can we ensure that our efforts are making a meaningful difference in the lives of the refugees?
Okay, it's a question. So we haven't answered the other question, which I thought is a very, very dicey one. I don't know if anybody has the expertise to answer this question, but since I'm the host, I think I have to make attempt to answer. We may not have the expertise to detect threats, national threats or to our territories like spies. But I think there are systems in place to look into that, because we can only deal with refugees, people that we know have fled in order to, looking for security, looking for safe environment to thrive and survive. I think the state agencies have regulations and personnel in place to look into those. But I think I see Ms. Emmanuel's hand up, and Sister Regina Afla is a lawyer, so she may have the response to it. So let me leave it there.
Okay, so Mr. Ima, can we hear you on this? After you, we Sister Regina.
That particular question is a very sensitive question, especially for refugees that are living in a non-camping community settlement. For instance, you take a case like Cameroon today, the crisis that is going on in Cameroon. You have people who are as refugees, they are being chased by the separatist fighters. You have some people who are being chased by both the separatist fighters and the government forces. You have, so we have all the categories of people among us where any sensitive information, they attack you as a spy. You see? So now, like Sister Riley put it, the UN and the Nigerian government, like the National Commission, they have the I call it the technical know-how, or they have their own procedure in which they, during the course of registration, just from the questions they ask you, when they ask those questions, they know who you are. That is when they now start following you gradually to know actually, because Like here, a separatist fighter who escaped Cameroon cannot enter and register as a refugee. That is their condition. A military person who escaped and enter Nigeria cannot be registered as a refugee. So they have their own mechanism, they have their own way, starting from the questions, the interrogation that they raise on that they will ask you, they now know how to follow you up and know if you have another, maybe you have a different motive. That's the contribution I wanted to put on.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ima. Sister Regina, can we also have your take on this, please?
Okay, so thank you very much for this opportunity and also for this webinar. What I want to say is that these days in Ghana, it is difficult to really determine who are the genuine people who are in society supporting us. However, the Ghana Immigration Service has come out with, or they have adapted some method that they are using these days to determine, and they are training people who are not, or let me say people who are civilians in our communities, so that they can use the tools given to them by the Immigration Service to determine who is a genuine refugee or not. And they do this mostly using the laws that we have in Ghana, and they engage border communities. Probably I can later share some of the documents that they have and what they have done, the training they've been given, so that we will be alert. Then when we are dealing with people, at least we know. What I can also say is that, you know, when you see people, it's just like a client. When you start questioning the client, if the person is telling the truth, you will know. If the person is lying to you, know. So maybe these are tools that we will need to develop as a network who is working to support refugees, so that we don't bring people who are perpetrators themselves into our camp or our homes for them to come and misbehave. So what I want to say is that these days, the Ghana Immigration Service, of course, I work with them, so I know they have come out with tools to determine who a refugee is, who a traffic person is, and who a migrant person is. So maybe, Sis Olivia, you can organize a kind of training for all of us to interact with these tools. Even though we know some, this is just to remind us of what we are supposed to be looking for when we are dealing with people. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
so
sister.
much,
Thank
sister.
you. Noted, sister.
So, Ambassador, can we have your take on this question?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. You know, it's a very sensitive question. Like my sister said, it is really dicey. But let us also don't forget that the 1951 Convention on Refugees and the 1967 Additional Protocol has clearly defined who a refugee is, who is an asylum seeker, who a stateless person is, and all of these things, countries have gone through it and have been able to ratify those documents. And so in the security architecture, that is why you have what we call the screening process. We always have a screening process because from our end in Sierra Leone, it happens. And when we had the war, the civil war here, the former president of Liberia, Charles Taylor, said, Sierra Leone will taste the bitterness of the war. And so when refugees were coming from Liberia into Sierra Leone, influx of refugees, people were also, you know, they find out that there were people among them who were fighters, but they were able to weed them out because of the screening process. So the security architecture, they have their own tools that they will use to look at it. And equally for us that are social workers, or for us who are human rights professionals or advocates, we must also follow those things, ensure that the correct screening process is complete. We cannot underrate that at all. Some other countries can do that. They can come under the shield of refugees and probably destabilize. You cannot overrule that. So we have to be very, very sensitive, if not oversensitive, especially with the security aspect, the screening aspect. But the 1951 has already defined who a refugee is. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Sister Victoria, I think you want to ask a question, but I will be happy or glad if we can hear your beautiful voice as you put this question across, so we all can attend to it. Thank you.
There's also a question that has not been answered, Mr. Moderator. So maybe when Sister Victoria finishes, since you've called her, then you can go back to that question.
Okay.
Yeah, hello to everyone. Yeah, as I said, there is a lot of I have appreciated, but it sounds maybe in Ghana or the countries you are talking, probably the governments are protecting those migrants or refugees. I'm talking from experience because I was leading a congregation and I visited Malawi, where some refugees were settled in the town, and the government were not in favor for them to be outside the refugee camp. So what you are talking about, teaching them the language and so on, they did it, but as it is not allowed by the government, it was a challenge. So I was wondering what can be done for those governments which are not allowing the refugees or the migrants to be in the communities. That was my main question.
All right, thank you so much. I think it differs from wherever we find ourselves. That was
I think it still goes back. Sister Victoria, thank you very much for your contribution. You are speaking from, I want to see where you're speaking from. Where are you speaking from, sister?
Burundi. I'm originally from Burundi, and for the moment, I'm missionary in my own country, Burundi.
Oh, but lovely.
Talking from the experience of Malawi, because I was supervising my sisters in Malawi, then I visited the camp. Yeah.
Thank you, Sister Victoria. I think it goes down to the same thing, policy advocacy. It is when we have the opportunity to do some advocacy with governments, when we have opportunities to dialogue where governments, agencies, bring us into conversation, we can always share our own take in these matters. Government have their own experiences and expertise, and we are always speaking from the angle of compassion, empathy, solidarity, and promotion of the dignity of the human person and human rights. So it will continue to be a conversation, a dialogue, a negotiation until we are able to, make our own opinions felt and accepted. In the meantime, we do a little bit here and there. Thank you. But Ambassador has a hand, so maybe he will contribute to that.
Yes, thank you very much, sister. Just like you are saying, we need to do what we strengthening a long-term integration process. How do we do that? We do that through policy advocacy, like you said, governments, NGOs, always in our meetings. We are advocating. There are laws, and the government, has its own reason, like you said. But our input is also meaningful, and we can only do that through what we call humanitarian diplomacy. We do advocacy, we engage government on these things. It's a long-time mindset shift. It will not be over one day, but we will continue to do it and do it and do it as maybe as NGOs, as people who are child protection, refugee rights focused, people who are human rights, and those kind of things. So those are some of the things we need to do. We also need to have grassroots movements, neighborhood association, faith groups, to join, in the local efforts. We can start from there. Somebody was talking about bad characters. If we have bylaws, community bylaws, they must, ensure that they are enforced. We can start from there. So thank you very much for that one. It's not an easy way through, but we will have to continue. We will not relent. We will make the journey until we get there one day. It's a mindset shift, but it will take a time.
All right, so I think what a question was skipped. Someone asked, how do we know that our input is making impact, a beneficial impact, in the lives of refugees?
Okay, maybe before I rest, let me also talk on that. When refugees transition from strangers to neighbors, everyone benefits, because inclusive communities not only enhance refugee well-being, but they also enrich societies with diverse perspectives, resilience, and shared humanity. Like I told you in my intro, refugees also have skills. They have potentials, they have talents. We can make use of those in the communities, and that will help the communities grow. So that is one way we can see, because maybe you have more community teachers. Some are teachers, they will come, and then if we integrate them, we have more community teachers that will be taking care of our children in the school to improve their education. We can have some of them who are healthcare workers. They can also join us, and they can make use of those of their skills and their expertise. So that is one way we benefit. It will actually enrich communities. It will enrich societies if we bring them, and probably by taking those intentional steps towards connection and support, we can build a world where no one feels like an outsider.
All right, thank you, Ambassador. I think our time is almost up. So if there is no other question or submission, can we have a call to action? What are we doing? What are we taking away? What are some key points that you think you can do, or actions that you think you can put in place to ensure that we foster an inclusive community for refugee well-being?
Can we put it on the chat?
Yes, please. And it will be read out. So you can put it in the chat, call to action. What will be the key points, takeaway, or what action going forward after this discussion are you going to make to ensure that we foster an inclusive community for refugee well-being? You can put your submission through the chat box. All right, so as we are putting in the there are submissions. Mr. Jamna, please, if you are there, you prepare yourself to give us the closing remarks. And then Miss Eugenia, please also prepare yourself to give us the closing prayer. So I can see the messages coming in. Okay, Mr. Emmanuel's own is here. That will let us work together to build inclusive communities that welcome refugees and foster their well-being. So first, we have to advocate for policies and programs promoting refugees' inclusion and empowerment. And he's also saying that we should engage in cultural exchange and build activities that Who again? Sister Franca. Okay, sister's own was okay. Sister Olivia is also saying she will try to be more inclusive in her relationship with people, no matter who they are, whether strangers or whatever. She will do that. No more strangers. Please keep your messages coming. Sister is also saying that let's build local network to have stronger voices for advocacy. I can see a hand up. Can we take that hand, or is it a legacy hand? Sister
Agatha.
Agatha.
Yes, I wanted to say something. From my experience here in Ghana, even outside, I think we talk about the attitude, the positive attitude for the migrants and for the refugees. But I have 3 things to share with you because the experience. I think we need the conversion, personal conversion, and the community conversion from our own person. Because here I am in Tamale. Here in Tamale, the people are saying many drivers of the yellow, they come from Nigeria. This is a color they are giving to the Nigerian. For me, it is not a good thing. And one day I was with a priest going, I don't know if it was a Sunyani. They are the people who have their cows, building their small houses. And he said, look at these people. The chief, they are giving our lands. They are giving our lands, they come from outside. They will finish our lands. And when they start to build, they will say, it's their lands. And the third, it concerns myself. In the moment of Corona, I went to Accra many times. And in the airport, the first time they told me, you cannot go. You cannot travel. You cannot travel. Go house. And I had a problem till to go to the ministry, I don't know, of foreign. And the woman, it touched me. The woman who was working there said, this is a discrimination. How the migration cannot give you the attestation. It's their work. These 3 experiences show me that we needed to be convinced from our own self and to help from where we are in order to look very far, to start where we are living. I don't say many things. I come from a Burundi like a Victoire. I know what happened in our country also. The refugees, the people consider that they are the wicked person, or they are not wicked. It's the social situation, they go out. But we have to know how to welcome the people who are suffering. So it's my contribution, a small contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sister.
Powerful contribution.
Oh, sister has really shared an experience. And these were the things that we were looking up to in our conversation. Okay, Ambassador have also sent in his his action, that we need to embark on public awareness, initiatives to challenge stereotypes and promote empathy, involve refugees in community decision-making to ensure their voices are heard. Thank you so much, Ambassador. I can see Sister Ignatia still has a hand up, or is it a legacy hand?
It's a new hand.
Okay. Sister, can we hear you, please?
Yes, so thank you very much. I know Sister wants me to talk. Somebody will say by all means. So just to share a few thoughts here. Recently, I traveled with some Kenyan sisters for a program. And I can tell you 100% that the Kenyan sisters, their networks are very strong. They work together, so they are able to achieve a lot. In fact, we can't compare what they are doing in the East African countries, especially in Kenya, to this place. So what I want to urge all of us is this: let's take this opportunity seriously, and so that we can contribute to this network, because it will go a long way to help many people. Though most of you on the network are not religious, the religious on this call today, I want to say that let's take this very, very seriously as our own and support the network so that the network can reach so many people. There are a lot of people who need our support. There are a lot of people who just want to talk with sisters. And I think this is the forum that we can use to reach out to the many people. So let us not be in our own corners and then doing the little we've been doing, like myself. So let us come so that together we can reach out to as many people as we can. And I can tell you that because the Kenyan sisters that I interacted with, they are together, they are able even to get many people to support whatever they do. Issues of migrants, refugees, and victims of traffic are so much in Ghana because of the wars that are going around in our neighboring countries. So let us see how we can work together with Sister Olivia for this network to grow, that through this we can reach so many people. So that is what I want to say. After the call, we will do the background talk and then the discussions. So thank you.
You're welcome, Sister. Mr. Jamna also has a call to action which reads, I will listen, welcome, and support refugees in whatever way I can to make them feel part of society. All right, so I think at this point we are good to go. If there are no other submissions or... Okay, Sister Margaret also says there must be the need for attitudinal change towards refugees by accepting and including them as parts of the communities they find themselves, accessibility to healthcare, etc. These are key things that we must also ensure to give them. We are still on it. Mr. Ima has come again saying, let us work together to build inclusive communities. Oh, sorry, I think it's the same thing that he posted. Ambassador, okay, the same thing. Okay, Ambassador is also saying that we should establish or expand a regional advocacy network to strengthen the work we do for refugees, just as Sister has put it out clearly and nicely in her submission, Sister Ignatia. Thank you so much for that. All right, so we will now take our closing remarks as we draw the curtain for our meeting today. And then to do this, please permit me to welcome Mr. Jamina Akenten. He is the program manager of Safe Child Advocacy to give us closing remarks. So, Mr. Jamina, if you are on, please take over.
Such an insightful discussion today. We thank each and everyone for being part of today's discussion as we reflected on what it truly means to move from strangers to neighbors. And with this, a special thank you goes to our esteemed panelists, Mr. Yimno Evidem, and also Ambassador Sylvester Callum from Sierra Leone for graciously accepting an invitation as panelists and also devoting your time and also sharing your expert insights and knowledge on this theme. We are sincerely grateful for your contributions and also to each and everyone who contributed and who joined this webinar. We say thank you very much for the knowledge that has been shared. And indeed, we need to open our hearts to strangers and also breathe life into the spirit of community by welcoming refugees. We have to not let this conversation end here, but also make a commitment to building communities where every refugee or stranger that we find in our communities feels seen, they feel safe, they feel supported, and also welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again in our subsequent webinars. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Jamina Akenten. So, Rose, Sister Eugenia Akotomeza will close us with a prayer. Eugenia, are you there, please?
Yes, please.
All right.
Shall we pray? We thank you, Lord, for your presence with us this day. As we depart from this meeting now, we ask you to bless and guide us. It is our prayer that you do not let the learning and the conversations of this gathering die, but instead may they continue to ruminate within us and bear fruit through our work, our efforts, our ministries, and all endeavors until we find ourselves together again. We ask this in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So thank you all for being a part of this insightful session. And we are also appreciative of all your submissions. And I hope that we are all taking home something. And lastly, let us be committed to our call to action, because through that we can create a society where refugees will also feel safe and then also enjoy whatever services that they need to enjoy as we create environment that promotes their well-being. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. We hope to see you in our subsequent webinars.
Thank you for your
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Olivia.
Have a nice day. Have a nice day to everyone.
Vicky.
Thank you so much.
Can you all
Bye,
put
bye.
on your videos? Can you put on your
Thank
videos
you.
so that
Thank
we
you.
can
Thank
see
you so
you
much.
and take a group photograph?
Okay.
Please put on your videos. Let's all put our videos on and we take a group photograph. So the photographer will let us know when he is done.
Yeah.
Hashim, Elizabeth, put on your video. Let me see if I had closed your videos.
Yeah.
All right. So photographer, are you done? Okay. So our photographer says he's done. I don't know if.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. We are
Thank you.
grateful. We are grateful. We are grateful.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Sister Olivia.
Maria Center, our
Yes,
collaborator.
Sister Olivia. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, sister.
Thank you. We are grateful.
Thank you
The
very much.
Maria family.
You are welcome, sister.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Sister. Well done, Sister Olivia.
Yeah, we are happy.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye. Bye, sister.
Faustina and her children.
Bye. Thank you very much. Sister Franca.
Thank you.
Sister Olivia.
Thank you for
Yes,
doing justice to
sister.
our question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This song was composed by the Daughters of Charity welcoming the stranger. The song we used at the beginning, and we are using it to close. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sister. God bless you.
Our teacher and Lord, our refugee, from Herod's persecution you are forced to flee. May we in turn welcome and love, putting faith into action for everyone. Bringing blessings through diversity, celebrate difference and give dignity. Our teacher and Lord, our refugee, from Herod's persecution you were forced to flee. May we in turn welcome and love, putting faith into action for everyone. All people made in the image of God, so challenge division and witness to love. Our teacher and Lord, our refugee, from Herod's persecution you were forced to flee. May we in turn welcome and love, putting faith into action for everyone. Bless all who travel by land, air or sea. Safe routes are needed, that is the key. Our teacher and Lord, our refugee, from Herod's persecution you were forced to flee. May we in turn welcome and love, putting faith into action for everyone.
A teacher and friend, Jesus, was a refugee forced to flee by Herod. And so refugee statue is not something that is strange to the human history. Thank you very much, everyone. Love you all. Have a blessed day. And thank you to our very able moderator. Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel, for making our day, and to all our wonderful contributors. Bye. And I'm ending
Thank you.
all here. Thank
you. Thank you, sister. Thank you, Dwamina. I will be in Accra on the 30th of June. Hopefully, I will connect you, because we are having